whether you want to be a dancer or a firefighter or a police officer or a race car driver or a country music singer, anything you want to be, you can do it. If you just put your mind to it and just keep trying and never give up. Just never give up. That's the only option.
Hey, this is Blaudus, and this video is about Billy Strings. So a friend of mine recommended his music to me, and I checked it out, and what I thought was really interesting was how unique it was. My friend said he went to a show, and the show they had no percussionists at all, and they were still dancing and jamming out to just a bunch of string players. And I thought that was really interesting how somebody could produce such a unique musical experience. So I looked into Billy Strings, and he has a really interesting background from growing up in a rural, poor area and then, finding music and having music in his family. The music in the family really resonated with me because growing up around music, is so important for him. So that's what I'm trying to foster for my family as well. So I thought, others with families or musicians would find this interesting.
My dad played all the fancy picking. I didn't play none of that, just the chords, and that really gave me a good foundation to kind of stand on. To then, once he got me an electric guitar, that's when I started learning about Jimi Hendrix and taking some solos and stuff like that, listening to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and a little bit more heavier stuff.
And at some point you were actually playing in a metal band?
Yeah.
When you were what, in your teens probably?
Yeah, like middle school, that kind of started because I had played bluegrass my whole life. And it's not that I was like embarrassed about it or anything, but it was just something that I did with my father. And so I really wanted to play music with people that were my age, that were into similar stuff, skateboarding and video games and whatever, and whenever I played music, it was bluegrass, and it was always with people that were a lot older than me, and so in middle school, folks that were my age were playing heavy metal. These songs, they are older, and they remind me of Grandma Doreen and stuff, and Grandma County, the Little White Church in the Valley.
Yes.
Little White Church in the Valley, Grandma made us play that song every time. If we came over to visit, we had to get our guitars out before we left and at least play that song before we left.
For the Little White Church in the Valley.
I was up all night one night, and I kind of just started writing this song, and that one never really went anywhere. But the very next song that I wrote, which was actually a couple years later, I was like 19 by this time, and I think that was Dust in the Baggie, which the show that we opened with tonight. And that song's about a good friend of mine who I actually grew up, picking with and stuff, and kind of went down a weird path, as a lot of my friends did, growing up, and a lot of people that I knew in my hometown. I guess that's where I got a lot of inspiration from for my writing, is the sort of sad stuff that I've seen because of substance abuse and neglect and just, living in a small town, kind of people being really bored and doing drugs a lot, and how that ruins lives and stuff, I just remember him playing with his thumb and stuff when I was little. He'd sing.
He never did the pick thing.
Yeah, he just played with his thumb.
Yeah. He was like a strummer, old-timey music. Like we three live all alone. We're not even company. My echo, my shadow, and you.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that, ragtime stuff.
I wanted an acoustic guitar really bad, and I started searching online, and I just came across my dad's guitar online, and I started sending this guy emails and stuff saying, hey, this is my dad's guitar, and his dad bought it for him, and it's supposed to be mine someday, and I need you, please don't sell it to anybody but me. And he's like, didn't really believe me, I guess, at first, and was like, how do I know you're not just talking shit? You're 17 years old and you don't have the money, and I have 3 people on eBay right now with cash. And he didn't really take at first. And
Massachusetts, don't forget that part.
Yeah. He was in Massachusetts, this guy. And then his wife Marla stepped in and was kind of like, hey man, like, I read your message and it's super special, and I'm not gonna let him sell it, So I'm like, can we do a payment plan? And they're like, oh, come on, I don't know. And so I talked him into doing it, $700 a month for 3 months. He wanted $2,100 for the guitar. I was piss broke. So I was taking back pop bottles and selling bags of weed and doing whatever I had to do to come up with $700 a month for 3 months, and sent him the money for 3 months in a row. And he sent my dad's guitar back to me, and I took it back over to Dad's and sat it on the table. And he's like, "What the fuck is that?" You know, he thought
I couldn't believe it.
He thought it was a
"What?"
prank.
I goes, "What are you doing? What is this? Go ahead."
So he, you know, kind of sits there and puts his hand on the case. And I'm like, "Well, are you gonna open it?" And he undoes one latch at a time, and he opens it like 2 inches, you know, and just kind of closes it again, and we all start crying. So eventually he pulls the guitar out and plays John Deere Tractor on it, and we all just lost it. That's the other thing I love about music is like it's, you know, the lyrics are always open for interpretation, you know, like by the listener. That person's got something else going on in their life that's totally different from what I had going on when I wrote that song, but somehow sometimes little things relate, and that's when you really touch somebody, and there's that little bit of magic that music has that we're all kind of wondering how to achieve, and wondering, you know, what is that in music that can make me bust out laughing or shed a tear, you know? Like when I walked out on stage tonight, I was really nervous, and I have anxiety, and I was like, oh man, and walk out here and everybody, I kind of see a few smiles and a couple people I recognize from shows before, and I just take a big deep breath, and it's this big cool refreshing, you know, breath that I hadn't been able to have for about 15 minutes before the gig. And then as soon as we start playing, it's like that all goes away, and it's replaced with this beautiful feeling of freedom and you know, everything but anxiety, you know. It goes away. Whether you want to be a dancer or a firefighter or a police officer or a race car driver or a country music singer, anything you want to be, you can do it. If you just put your mind to it and just keep trying and never give up. Just never give up. That's the only option, you know, is just to keep going. And I'm from Muir. I grew up there, you know, and I used to think that I was never going to amount to anything. I used to think that I would never make it. I used to never, you know, think that I was just not going to have a good life, you know, and kind of I wasn't going to make it out of there. But you can do whatever you want, you know, and I know some kids maybe are in some tough situations like I was in for some years when I was younger, and it's not always going to be like that. And you're in control, you know. You got to put your hands on the wheel and control your life, and you can do whatever you want with it. You just got to steer in the right direction. Right. I got some songs together for an album, which is great because I'm always procrastinating and feeling like really terrible about myself for not like writing a song every single day. A great song, you know. I go, and I guess that's almost a little sarcastic in itself, because there are times where I go months and months without writing a song. Right now I haven't written anything maybe since we got out of the studio, you know, in January. What month is it?
I believe it's July now.
See,
yeah.
It goes by so fast, and I don't know. And then I start feeling like really, I hate myself so bad. Then I squeeze out like 10 songs, and then there's the album.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
as long as it comes out sooner or later.
There's extreme highs and extreme lows, and you know, the whole lifestyle is a whole living on the road, man. Like when we're on the road, like I'm only home, you know, 3 days a month or something. I mean, I'm going from town to town to town, and you got to want to do that because it gets tiring after a while. And, you know, when you're tired and you haven't slept all night and there's everybody around and he's picking a banjo over there and you got a headache and, you know, you got to go on stage in 3 minutes, it gets a little hectic and stuff sometimes, but it's so worth it because there's those other times where everything's really groovy and you're just hanging out with your friends and partying and playing music and just having a good time. And that's just what it's about, you know? And, so it's like, it's all worth it, I think, you know?